He was in a hurry to submit his papers to the office, and he was angry, very, very angry, because nobody was helping him give directions. And on his way, he slapped the manager of the organization unknowingly, and all the other workers came around him. Society.
The lobby of Nexus Group headquarters in Lagos was made of glass and marble, and the kind of silence that makes poor people feel small. Men in suits walked past with important faces, their shoes clicking against the shiny floor like they owned the world. Women in perfect dresses carried files and talked in low voices, and everywhere Maurice looked, he saw wealth. He saw things he could never afford. He saw a world that did not want him. And in the middle of all this, standing near the corner by the elevator, an old man was sweeping the floor. The old man moved slowly, pushing a brown broom across the white marble, his shoulders bent like he had carried too many heavy things in his life. He wore a faded brown abaya that had seen better days, the embroidery around the neck fraying and loose. On his feet were old slippers, the kind you buy from the market for 200 naira. His hair was gray and thin, and when he swept, he kept his eyes down, like he was not worthy to look at the important people walking past him. Nobody looked at him. Nobody said thank you when he moved his broom to let them pass. He was invisible, just another old cleaner in a city full of old cleaners. But Maurice saw him. Maurice saw him and felt something burn inside his chest. Something hot and ugly and desperate. Because Maurice had been walking around this lobby for 20 minutes, asking everyone where he could find the CEO. And everyone had ignored him. The security guard at the door had looked at Maurice's clothes, his cheap shirt with the collar fading, his trousers that were too short, his shoes with the small hole near the toe, and had pointed to the corner. "Wait there," the guard had said. And Maurice had waited, and waited, and his interview time had come and gone, and still nobody came to get him. So when Maurice saw the old man with the broom, something inside him snapped. He walked fast across the lobby, his footsteps loud against the marble, and he grabbed the old man by the shoulder. He turned him around, and before the old man could say a word, before he could even lift his eyes to see who had touched him, Maurice raised his hand and slapped him across the face. The sound echoed through the lobby like a gunshot. The old man stumbled backward, his broom clattering to the floor. He put one hand on the wall to steady himself, and his other hand went to his cheek, where a red mark was already forming. He looked up at Maurice, and for the first time, Maurice saw his eyes. They were old eyes, tired eyes, but there was something in them that Maurice did not understand. Something calm, something almost like pity. And then the lobby exploded. "What are you doing?" a woman screamed. "Security! Security!" a man shouted. Footsteps pounded across the marble from every direction. 3 security guards ran toward Maurice, their hands reaching for him, their faces twisted with anger. One of them grabbed Maurice by the arm and twisted it behind his back, hard enough to make Maurice cry out. Another guard pushed Maurice against the wall, pressing his face into the cold marble. "You are finished," the guard hissed in his ear. "You are completely finished. Do you know who that is? Do you have any idea what you had just done?" Maurice tried to speak, tried to explain that he was here for an interview, that he had been waiting, that nobody told him anything. But the words would not come out. His heart was pounding so hard he thought it might burst through his chest. His face was pressed against the wall, and he could see nothing but white marble and his own terror reflected in it. Then, through the chaos, a voice spoke. It was a quiet voice, a calm voice, an old voice. "Release him." The guards froze. The lobby fell silent again, the kind of silence that comes before thunder. Maurice felt the hands on his arms loosen. He turned slowly, his cheek still stinging from the wall, and he looked at the old man. The old man was standing straight now, not bent like before. He was looking at Maurice with those calm eyes, and there was no anger in them. No anger at all. "Mr. Henry," one of the guards said, his voice shaking. "Sir, this man attacked you. He slapped you. We saw everything. We're taking him to the police right now." The old man, Mr. Henry, shook his head slowly. He reached up and touched his cheek where the red mark still glowed, and for a moment he just looked at Maurice. Just looked at him like he was trying to read something written on his face. "No police. Mr. Henry said. The lobby gasped. People whispered to each other, their voices like leaves rustling in the wind. Maurice could not understand what was happening. This old man was a cleaner, a sweeper. Why were these guards calling him sir? Why were they treating him with such fear and respect? Mr. Henry, another guard said, stepping forward, this man assaulted you. We cannot just let him go. It is our job to protect you. Mr. Henry held up one hand, and the guard stopped talking immediately. The old man walked slowly toward Maurice, his old slippers making soft sounds against the marble. He stopped right in front of Maurice, close enough that Maurice could see the lines on his face, the gray in his eyebrows, the small scar near his left eye. What is your name? Mr. Henry asked. Maurice tried to swallow, but his throat was dry. His lips moved, but no sound came out. Your name, Mr. Henry said again, his voice gentle. Maurice, Maurice whispered. My name is Maurice. Maurice, Mr. Henry repeated, like he was tasting the name. Maurice, why did you hit me? And Maurice, standing there with his arm still aching from the guard's grip, with his heart still racing, with his whole future crumbling around him, did something he did not expect. He started to cry. The tears came from nowhere, hot and fast, running down his cheeks and dripping onto his cheap shirt. He could not stop them. He stood there in the middle of the fancy lobby, with all those important people watching, and he cried like a small child. I am sorry, he said, his voice breaking. I am so sorry. I did not mean. I have been waiting so long. I had an interview. 10 o'clock. I came early. I did everything right. And nobody would tell me anything. Nobody would help me. I saw you sweeping, and I thought you were just a cleaner. I thought you did not matter. I am sorry. Please, I am so sorry. Mr. Henry listened. He did not interrupt. He just stood there, his old hands folded in front of him, and he listened to everything Maurice said. When Maurice finished, when the tears were still wet on his face and his shoulders were still shaking, Mr. Henry spoke again. You thought I did not matter, Mr. Henry said slowly. Because I was sweeping. Because my clothes are old. Because I'm old myself. You looked at me, and you decided I was nothing. Maurice hung his head. He could not look into those eyes anymore. Do you know who I am, Maurice? Mr. Henry asked. Maurice shook his head. Mr. Henry reached into the pocket of his faded agbada and pulled out a small card. He held out to Maurice. Maurice took it with shaking hands and looked at it. On the card was a name, Henry Okonkwo, and below the name, in gold letters, were the words, Founder and Chief Executive Officer, Nexus Group. The lobby spun around Maurice. The floor seemed to tilt. He grabbed the wall to keep from falling. The old man he had slapped. The old man he had called nobody. The old man he had attacked with his own desperate hands. He was the CEO. He was the owner of this whole building. He was the man who could give Maurice a job or destroy his life with a single word. Maurice opened his mouth to speak, to beg, to apologize again, but no words came. What words could possibly fix this? But Mr. Henry was not finished. He looked at Maurice for a long, long moment. Then he said something that made every person in that lobby freeze in shock. You still have an interview, Maurice. Maurice blinked. He thought he had heard wrong. He looked at the guards, at the people watching, at the faces full of confusion and disbelief. Then he looked back at Mr. Henry. Sir, Maurice whispered. You had an interview for 10 o'clock, Mr. Henry said calmly. I know because I review every interview application personally. I saw your name. I saw your qualifications. I was curious about you, Maurice. That is why I was here in the lobby this morning. I wanted to see you before the interview. I wanted to watch you without you knowing who I was. Maurice felt his stomach drop through the floor. I was standing here sweeping, Mr. Henry continued, waiting to see what kind of young man would walk through those doors. I wanted to see if you would be kind, if you would be patient, if you would treat a poor old cleaner with respect when you thought nobody important was watching. The lobby was so quiet Maurice could hear his own heart breaking. And now I have my answer, Mr. Henry said. Maurice closed his eyes. This was it. This was the end. His mother would die. His landlord would throw his things into the street. He would never get a job anywhere in Lagos because word would spread that he had assaulted the CEO of Nexus Group. His life was over. But then Mr. Henry spoke again. I'm not going to call the police, Maurice. I'm not going to have you arrested. I'm not even going to ban you from this building. Maurice opened his eyes. He looked at Mr. Henry, and for the first time, he saw something strange in the old man's face. It was not anger. It was not pity. It was something else. Something Maurice could not name. Tomorrow, Mr. Henry said, you will come back here. 9 o'clock in the morning. You will come to my office, and you will have your interview. The guards looked at each other. The people in the lobby whispered. Maurice stood frozen, unable to move, unable to speak. But first, Mr. Henry said, his voice dropping low, you will learn something. Before you can work for me, before you can even sit in my office, you will learn what it means to see people. Really see them. Not just the clothes they wear, not just the work they do, but who they are inside. Mr. Henry turned away from Maurice. He walked slowly back to where his broom lay on the floor. He bent down, his old joints creaking, and picked it up. Then he looked back at Maurice one last time. 9 o'clock tomorrow, he said. Do not be late. And he walked toward the elevator, pushing his broom ahead of him, leaving Maurice standing in the middle of the lobby with tears still wet on his face and a question burning in his mind that would keep him awake all night. What does he want from me? And why is he giving me a chance after what I did?
Like, share, subscribe. We meet in the next part.